There's 6 common strumming mistakes I've seen just about every beginner make, and it wrecks their sound. If you want to go from sounding like a beginner to a pro, I've got some super simple tweaks that'll make your strumming sound a lot more smooth. Let's get into it. We're gonna start with the most basic thing first. Imagine you have 3 dots. One right in the middle of the tip of your first finger, the next one right in the middle of your thumb, and the last one right in the middle of the pick. So you're gonna line those 3 dots up and hold the pick like this. If you're not holding the pick in the right place, you're not gonna have good control of the pick, and it's really gonna jack up your strumming. If you hold the pick too far back, it's gonna fall out. And if you hold it too far forward, you're gonna have a hard time being fluid enough to sound smooth. Before we get to the next one, I want to see if you can guess which mistake is the most common. Remember your answer and we'll go over that one last. The next mistake is going to give you a harsh sound with no dynamics. As a general rule, you should never have any tension in your hands. Always try to stay super relaxed, because tension can lead to major problems like carpal tunnel and all kinds of things, but it can also just prevent you from being able to play things and just sound bad. Make sure that you're not holding the pick too tight. You need to stay relaxed and allow the pick to move slightly as it hits the strings. Here's what it sounds like if you're squeezing too hard. Versus staying super relaxed. Staying relaxed will give you a much smoother sound and allow you to do a lot more with your dynamics. By the way, if you don't know what dynamics are, it just means how loud or soft you play. If I were to talk like this the whole time, you would probably get bored and click off the video. But if I talk like this and add more inflection in my speaking, it's a lot more interesting to listen to. We can have our strumming be a lot more interesting just by playing some notes softer and some notes louder, but a little more on that later. If you're making this next mistake, you're gonna get a really abrasive sound and it'll be hard to move around efficiently. But if you fix it, you'll be able to move effortlessly and it'll sound a lot more smooth. Make sure you're not holding the pick at the wrong angle. When you play a downstroke, your pick should be angled slightly down, and when you play an upstroke, your pick should be angled slightly up. Now, if you look at this in slow motion, you can see what I'm talking about, but keep in mind, this is a very subtle thing, so don't overdo it. Also, part of this is gonna be how light you're holding the pick to just let it naturally do this. But just remember, it's very subtle and you don't want to exaggerate it. I want to give you a couple bonus tips on how you can give your strumming that extra secret sauce to make it sound a lot more interesting, but let's get through these last few mistakes first. Now, I'm definitely no basketball expert, but when you dribble a basketball, you don't only use your wrist or only use your arm, you relax and use a little bit of both. It's the same thing with strumming. You bend from here and you also let your wrist move at the same time. Now, there might be some times when you do only want to use your wrist, like if I was playing something like this. But if I was doing something like this, I would use a mix of my arm and wrist, and this is what I'm talking about. But you should never only use your arm. Try recording yourself, and if you watch back and you're not using your wrist and arm, try to stay relaxed and just make sure that you're using both. All right, this next one will sound like you put a cat in a bucket and threw it down a staircase. If you want people to enjoy listening to you or jamming with you, then you've got to get this right. Now, this is a big one. The best way to get good at this is to practice with a metronome.
Nope. That's where I draw the line, buddy. That thing throws me off.
Well, the reason the metronome throws you off is because you aren't with it, and the only way to get better at it is to just do it. I know it can be hard in the beginning, but the more you do this, the easier it'll get. Practicing with the metronome, which gets neglected a lot, is the best way to fix bad rhythm and timing. I can't stress enough how important this is. Let's test your timing out real quick. I want you to do this. Pick up your phone and record a voice memo of you playing. Now listen back to it and try to tap your foot along with it to see if you're keeping good timing. By the way, recording yourself is super helpful. If you haven't done it yet, you definitely should. It's helped me a ton, and you'll be able to hear things things that you didn't even realize you were doing and that you need to work on. All right, do you remember your answer from earlier? This last one is probably the most common mistake I see. So I'm gonna give you 2 examples and I wanna see if you can guess what the mistake is. Example 1. And example 2. Now, if you said it was not keeping the arm motion going up and down the whole time, you would be wrong. I'm just kidding. That's exactly what it is. So if I were to take that pattern down, 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 up, up, down, up, down, up, your arm motion needs to be going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up the entire time. Now, don't do it like jagged like I just was. Keep it super relaxed, but just keep that down, up, down, up, down, up going the entire time. You're just not gonna hit the strings on every single down or up motion. So here's what it would look like slow. I could honestly do an entire video on just this one concept and give you some exercises that can help, but that's a little out of scope for this video. But if you want me to do one and I get enough comments, I'll totally make one. Just let me know. So try recording yourself and see if your movement looks like that. If you're not keeping it flowing like that, it's gonna sound super choppy. This will help it sound and feel a lot more smooth. All right, now that we got the basics down, I wanna show you a couple extra tips that will make your strumming sound a lot less boring and just give it a little life. One thing I love to do to give my strumming a little more dynamics is to bring certain notes or beats out. When you play closer to the bridge, it sounds a lot brighter. And when you play closer to the neck, it sounds a lot darker. So sometimes I like to play certain beats super close to the bridge to bring them out like this. So that's kind of a fun thing to mess around and experiment with. Another thing I do to get more dynamics is to play the first couple low strings super light, but then play all 6 strings on certain beats to bring those notes out. So something like this. So those are the 6 strumming mistakes that you want to avoid. Let me know in the comments if you think I missed any. I hope these tips helped you out, and if you want to see more, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.